Hey guys, today I'm bringing you a very special episode. This is regarding Dream 11 and Fantasy Point System. So, what I wanted to kind of check in this is whether it is any strategy, trick, or just data, right, that can help you win the Grand League. So I've been playing around with some data and I've built a machine learning model that I'm going to show you today. I will not get into the details of the parameters, the tuning that I've done, but typically how I plan to use data to play the contest. So currently, like the league that I'm focused on is the Big Bash League. As you can see here, it's open tomorrow. There's a match between Sydney Sixers and Sydney Thunder. And before we kind of start working on the model, what I'm going to do is kind of check the points table and where do these two teams stand. So tomorrow, which were the Sixers and Thunders. So both Sydney teams are going to be playing. So Sydney, they are number two and three. So it looks like a going to be a fairly contested, competitive contest because both these teams are playing for the first four slots, right? And Crick Info gives you a lot of stats beforehand, but let's look at this particular match right now. So basis, their center, based on recent stats, Moises Enriquez, James Lynn, these are the players that Crick Info has given, which is very public information. What's important is where the match is being held. It's going to be held in Sydney, right? I have built this particular a lot of model which takes into account a lot of data. Let me just run this model and I'll show you what happens. Right? Just we'll have to give it some time. Uh, right. So basically, it's going to print out the best prediction, and then we'll do some venue stats for us to kind of see what composition of team that it's going to build. I'll kind of walk you through it. So what we'll basically do is it will go through each players who are part of the two teams and check out their performances, etc., and give us the likelihood of the number of runs or the number of wickets that each player may take. Now it'll give us that data, and then we can kind of use it to make our team there. So it looks into venues, it looks into close to around 50-60 parameters for each match. So let's see whether in the future um, um, data trumps any other tukka logic, right? Or is just plain pure tukka that works? So I'm just giving it some time for the model to run, and some of the key players are Warner, Billing, right? These are the recent stats, bowlers to watch out for. Um, there's some head-to-head here, squad stats. Head-to-head, it's basically Sixers who have won most of the time, right? Sydney Sixers. Let's give it some few more seconds because it's doing a lot of number crunching. It's basically it's looking at each and every Big Bash player, then filtering it down to the players who are part of these two teams, their entire historic records. Machine learning models do take time, right? So here, so it has generated Excel file in which it's given me the prediction of the number of runs and wickets. This is the file name. Quickly I'll also do, so the venue is 6, the Sydney ground ID is 6. I'll just like, right. So this is close to 14,434 runs have been scored at this venue. Second. Sorry. It's oops. Small mistake here. Cool. This is actually wickets. I'll just have to divide this by 25. 1 second, calculator. I'll explain what I'm going to do here. So 14439 divided by 54. So approximately 264 is the average runs that have been scored in Sydney, right? So which basically is telling me if I divide this by 2, right? So it's 130 to 140 is typically the average runs. So it's around 150, less than 150 runs per side, right? So which basically is telling me that uh, bowlers do play a very very important role here, in at least from the data. Now let's check the bowler stats here. I've kind of used this is actually average wickets. If I just change this, average wickets, bowling stats sum, and then divided by, I'll explain what I've done here. DF summary, and then I'm going to and now let's print this. Right, so approximately 596 wickets have been taken in 54 matches. So 594, 596 divided by 54, right? So around 11, average of 11 wickets per match. So what this is basically kind of telling me is that typically in one match there are around 11 wickets. So 5 to 6 wickets are falling, but with an average score of 130, right? 130 to 140, which basically is telling me that this is a slow wicket. Sydney is typically a slow wicket, at least from the all the historic data that we have kind of analyzed, and let's kind of one step also verify before we go into the model, right? Bash League. How do I check the fixtures and results, right? So what I'm looking for is this season matches played in Sydney. So this is Perth, this is Sydney, right? So 160, 169, 75, 12. So the wickets column is kind of very accurate with the average, and there are 30 runs more than average that has been scored kind of here. So this is basically, gives us a good idea about the type of wicket that we have um, in Sydney. Ideally, when I'm seeing this kind of a situation where there are 7 to 5 wickets and the average score is beyond what my data is telling me, I will kind of stay away from playing this league. The reason being, there are a lot of permutations and combinations that can happen, right? You'll need a mix of batsmen and bowlers, and then those 20 out of those 22, right? Those 2 to 3 batsmen picking those situations becomes very, very difficult. So, so those are the kind of situations where we should kind of stay away from, where the average wickets, like say for example, if it was Perth, right? Perth, you're seeing 13 wickets have fallen, and the average score is less. So here you can create a bowler friendly kind of a situation. But this Perth Sydney looks really vague. Let's look at some other matches. Just one match won't give us an idea. See here, again above average has been scored in this particular league. Let's look at Sydney again. Again 150, 148, and 11 to 12 wickets again has been scored. Which was the previous one that we saw? Yeah, 10, 11. So wickets are less here, so we'll have to make a slightly batting all-rounder kind of a team, uh, which creates a lot of possibilities. This match was abandoned because of rain. Let's look at one last match here. So in Sydney, only 10 wickets fell in both these innings, and typically 200 runs were scored. So Sydney, in this current edition of Big Bash League, the scores are 20 to 30 runs above average, but the wickets that are falling at this venue are typically in the range of 11 to 12 per match. So which makes it 5 to 6 wickets per inning, right? So that is what we are going with. And now that this my file has been generated, now let's look at what the data is going to tell me, right? Yeah, this is the file, right? So I analyze a lot of parameters typically here, right? Their runs, averages, etc. And now let me just quickly create up the pivot table. I'm doing this live with you so you guys can kind of follow. I'll do a pivot table, right? And first thing I will put is the player name. Let's look at runs first. Okay, and I'll put the team ID as a filter. right? I'll select the first team ID 53. Okay, 1 second, let me just home largest to smallest. Okay, let's clean this up a little bit. And all this can be given to me, but I just like to also play around with the data a little bit, and I'm doing this just to show it to you guys. And this is for team. This is for one team, and this is for the other team. Sydney Sixers versus the other Sydney team, right? So what it's telling me is based on the model that I have built, that Steve Smith from this team may likely score approximately 30 runs. Josh Philippe is also close to 30 runs. Daniel Hughes, if he plays, 27. So this is entire squad. If you look at all the players in this list, close to 21, it considers all the squad members, because we don't know until the last like 30 minutes, right? Who are going to play, and 24. So total of close to 36 squad members it has analyzed this data for. Now this is all related to batting runs. Right now, there's one more very interesting thing I've put in is batting order. So here, if you just ignore the zero ones, because typically it's bowlers, but typically people who are likely the opening batsman, right, typically takes an average of their batting order. So the average batting order across all the matches for, like, say, Daniel Hughes or Jack Edwards is 3. Moises Enriquez typically comes at number 4th spot. Jordan Silk is 5, right? So typically, if it's going to be like a batsman dominated game where less wickets are falling, then you will typically go by selecting, like, if you think team 53 is going to win, then you will kind of choose this particular players based on this order. If you think that more all-rounders will play a role, right, then you're going to be selecting 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So typically it also tells you, certain bowlers who are more likely to score runs, right? Like, say, for example, Jackson Bird, extremely wicket-taking bowler in this tournament, but he may just score 3.84. So that ways you can create a very balanced team, uh, and totally team that is totally dependent on data, right? And I need to be lucky just once. Don't forget that, right? I don't need to win each and every match. I need to just win one match, right? So here in the next one, I'm going to use predicted wickets, and player's name, predicted wickets, and I don't need the batting order, right? And this is for team 53, right? So this team, and if I just sort this out, Z to A, right? So basically, this is being converted into predicted points. Basically, don't go by wickets, it's points that are multiplied basically in my model by 25, because for one wicket, for every wicket you take, you get 25 points, and then further points for economy rate, etc. So according to the model, if you see what the average is around 14.9, right? So yeah, so these four, or let's say how many, 6 bowlers are typically going to be your key bowlers in the match according to the model for team 53. And if I put in the other team, right, so yeah, Tanveer Sangha, Wes Agar, right? So these are the top few bowlers that you'll choose. Now, one thing that we can do is, we can just basically take one table and combine it, but I like to kind of mix and match my team, right? So, say for example, in Sydney. So, what did we learn in Sydney? That Sydney historic batting average was approximately 135, but current season it is close to 160, right? And wickets is fairly accurate, around 12 wickets are being taken per match, right? So this at least tells me that it is a batting slightly could be a batting dominated match with few key uh, players who are likely to take a couple of wickets. So we'll have to be very selective with our team. We can't make it extremely bowler. We can't top up the team with a lot of bowlers. One good idea would be to keep my batsmen consistent, but create multiple versions of the same team with different bowlers. But I'll just may pick just one or two bowlers, right? But create more versions of my team. That could be one strategy that I kind of use in my strategy. So this is basically what I kind of wanted to show you all of what I'm going to be basically planning to do. Now in this case, let me see. Yeah, probably I combine all of them right here. In this one, batting order, and I remove batting order and I put in team ID, right? So so at least from what the data is, it's telling us to pick the model is predicting that team number 53 may have a better set of people who may score more higher amount of runs. So Steve Smith and Josh Philippe, Daniel Hughes. I'm not sure whether he's going to be playing, but Oliver Davies, he didn't play the last match. Jordan Silk is due. James Wins, Sangha, Bancroft, Billings, right? So typically on what my combination of wickets is, and because of the data that we saw here, doing a combined check and selecting the most likelihood team for both batting and bowling is I think a better option, because the results are extremely mixed. There's no clear strategy that we can create based on at least what the venue is kind of telling us, right? So it's better to take the best score and the best runs for each of the teams. So who typically are, what would my now team kind of look like if I need to create those 11 players. So first one, let's say, will be Steve Smith, 53, Josh Phillip. I'm not sure he's going to be playing, but Oliver Davies, right? Silk and Vince. So these are going to be my batsmen. Okay, and these all four are going to be my batsmen for the league. Then let me look at the bowlers. Tanveer Sangha is going to be my main bowler. Let me put it below. Then Ben Roshu is going to be my second bowler. Wes Agar is going to be my third bowler. Daniel Sams is fourth, right? He didn't care. Daniel Christian. How many players do I have? George Garton and Chris Green. So this is kind of, let me just cut this and move it here and just number them 1 2, right? So yeah, so I've taken approximately 13 players because at the time when I'm creating the team, if one player is missing, I'm going to be replacing him with the other player. Let me just take the 14th. 14th player was 14th and 15th. Let's mark it as some substitutes. 14th would be we'll take one bowler and one distinguished channel. Abbott, consider a bowler. If I want to consider a batsman, Jason Sangha, Curtis Patterson, Bancroft. Sorry. Bancroft, Billings. And last, I'll keep David Warner. So these are going to be my the 16 players I'm going to consider, and I may basically create different combinations of this. And the right, Bancroft is there. I'm not sure. I think he bats. So typically, this is what my team kind of is will kind of look like. For the match going ahead. So the two things why I've kept 16 is, like, say my best. This is going to be my best 11, but then I'll just have to see the balance, right? If it's too skewed in one team's area, I will kind of need to kind of manage it. So therefore I've kept a few extra players while so that I know who I need to substitute while creating the team. So now I'll go offline and we'll try to create this team, and maybe in a video after the match we can discuss the results. So hope you guys found it interesting, and if you want to learn more about the data that kind of I've kind of used for this match, it's extremely heavy. Like, say for example, I've analyzed let's say DF selected. Right, so there are approximately 8,000 matches that I've considered. If I look at matches and different players, right? Eight different players playing across matches. So this data is for 8,000, close to 8,000 matches, um, taking different aspects like weather, who was the opponent, was it the home team, batting order, right? How many fours, sixes. This is just for batting, and close and several other features for bowling, like from economy rate, wides, maiden, no balls. So, basis this model has been built. It's fairly exhausted model that we built here, right? So let's see what happens, and look forward to connecting with you guys after the match.